There we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Christy's Corner, where we talk about culture, conservatism, Christianity, and common sense. How am I coming in? 5x5? Can you hear me okay? Can you see me all right? So, good news. I finally figured out that software. I keep saying I've just about got it figured out, but what I did last week obviously didn't work for those of you who were here. I tried to run OBS through YouTube, and that's not how you're supposed to do it. And I thought I had watched all the videos. Anyway, so here I'm in Texas again. And tonight, some of y'all who have notifications on probably got 4 notifications that I was doing a video. So I went straight from OBS, and because YouTube is my, whatever you call it, streaming, that's what you would call that. Anyway, it went straight to YouTube, but I didn't have enough broadband again. So, yeah, so that didn't work. All right, so we're going to talk about NATO tonight and NATO expansion and why in the world we're not hearing about that. Anthony Mark in the chat here has 16 countries in NATO in 1990. So I had a thumbnail up for a little bit, which I took it down, and I don't know if I can show it again. Let me see. I'm going to look on here and see if I can pull it right back up. But anyway, it showed the founding countries, United States, all those guys. No, that's not what we want. All right, let me go back. Anyway, 32 countries in 2025, Anthony Mark has in the chat. Think about that, guys. All right, so I've been thinking, when all this stuff started, we heard a little bit about, well, NATO promised not to expand eastward, and so Putin invaded because of that. All right, so what am I talking about? I know a lot of y'all do know what I'm talking about, and some of you have no idea what I'm talking about. So NATO stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and that may be the exact acronym, but it's pretty close to that. And what happened was after World War II in 1945? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Europe was devastated. It lay in waste, literally. Friend of mine turned 25 on the 25th. That is so cool. Anyway, let me get back to this article that I had pulled up here for us. Okay. Get your act together, Christy. What's going on? Here we go. Click, go back, click, and here is the NATO article. In 1945, the world lay in ruins. That's not the right article. And you've heard of the Marshall Plan? I know I'm sounding silly here. I'm trying to do 3 things at once, and I need an assistant. Here we go. Found it. This is what I was looking for. That's what I was looking for. All right, so here we go. When World War II ended in 1945, Europe lay in ruins. In the European theater of the war alone, an estimated 15 to 20 million people, combatants and non-combatants, lost their lives. It is the most destructive war in human history, and it changed the landscape of international relations forever. Guys, I'm gonna put my glasses on. Oh my gosh. Interrupt with some really good news here while I'm talking about this dark story. The Doge team has now saved $137 billion. You know what, guys? We can do this. We can do this. We are going to turn this around. Don't you feel that? I really, really believe we're going to turn it around. The naysayers. We're going to talk about the naysayers in a minute. Let's finish this NATO thing because I put that in my thumbnail. So let me do this. It's the most destructive war in human history. The former in Germany was split into 2. Democratic capitalists in West Germany and the communist authoritarian East Germans. So this whole NATO thing and NATO expansion, we developed NATO right after the war to rebuild Europe, to help rebuild Europe with the Marshall Plan. In that rebuilding, the country split. Russia began to push forward communism, and the West said no to communism. They wanted democracy, representative democracy in particular. Not as good as ours, but basically based on Hellenism, based on the Greek original plan for democracy, where you had a Senate and people voted for what they wanted to have taken care of by the government, the city-state, and the people. But communism is completely different from that. Communism is bottom up, middle out. Have you heard that before? Communism is about sharing everything. But the problem is mankind doesn't do that very well. They don't do that well at all. One, there's no incentive to do better. Two, it breeds corruption, because who's going to split the money up so that everybody gets some? And while they're doing that, are they not going to take a little bit for themselves? So the country, we know that the world split into East and West. And this NATO expansion I'm talking about tonight, we had the Cold War developing out of World War II. We had the 80s and Gorbachev and Reagan going at it. It was a terrifying time to be alive if you were afraid of nuclear war, because the left played up nuclear war and played on our fears so completely that most of us were just absolutely terrified. And pretty sure that it's very possible that bomb was going to get dropped. And how close we came with near misses and miscommunications is incredibly frightening. That's a whole another topic. But out of all that split between communism and Western democracy, and the 80s grows out of that, we get the Cold War, we get lack of communication. Reagan comes along, and even though I sounded negative just a second ago, I didn't mean it negative at all. He understood. What does he say? A communist is someone who has read Marx. A freedom lover is someone who understands Marx. Marx meaning Karl Marx of communism. I don't know if I got the quote just right, but yeah, a communist has read Karl Marx, and a Republican has read Karl Marx and understands Karl Marx and doesn't want anything to do with it. So we get the Cold War, and out of the Cold War, Reagan brings about, he basically bankrupts Russia, right? We could do that whole see at that. But out of that, we had West and East Germany, which I mentioned before, and the Berlin Wall. The Berlin Wall. Oh, cool. Mark said I might have got the quote right. The Berlin Wall separated East and West Germany, separated Eastern Germany, the Iron Curtain, communism, and Western Germany, representing the rest of Europe. And when the wall came down, when Reagan said, tear down that wall, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And his speechwriters did not want him to say that, but he said it. Thank goodness he did, because the wall came down. And when the wall came down, now the Cold War is come to an end. And it's a whole lot more complicated than that, obviously. But here we go. We have East and West Germany, the Berlin Wall. The wall comes down that separates West from East, communism from republic democracy. And in order to reunify Germany, to bring that East and West together, NATO promised Russia, not in writing, it's not a written document, but they promised Russia they would not expand eastward. They would not try and take over the countries that really were part of Russia, even though they were no longer part of the United States. How is it? What does USSR stand for? United Socialist Soviet Republic. Is it United was the first? Anyway, hey, Bear With Me's here. Hi, Bear With Me. Hi, everybody. Everybody that's here. Hello. Smash that like button. Anyway, so we get the promise from NATO that they won't expand eastward for the reunification of Germany. It was a quid pro quo. And then what happens? Anthony Mark, I bet you can tell me when they started expanding. I believe it was around 2010-ish. And Latvia, Slovakia, all of those countries began to join NATO. And there was 3 in the north that pushed right up next to Russia. There were 2 that pushed right up next to Ukraine. There were a couple to the west of Ukraine and a couple in the south. And we broke our promise. We broke our promise. And we're not talking about it, guys. The press began to talk about it when this, I would say, what, 3 years ago? 3 years ago, okay, the war started in 2022, right? And then right about that time, a little bit of the press was talking, especially on the, the Fox News guys and Newsmax and those guys were talking about, hey, we're expanding NATO. We're not supposed to. We promised we wouldn't. No wonder Putin is invading. And when Donald Trump says that it would not have happened under his watch, I believe that's part of what he's talking about. He wouldn't have let NATO expand like that. February 2022, it started. Yep. So I guess my point is propaganda again. Here we go with the propaganda again. Have you noticed that nobody's talking about NATO expansion now, except in the context of Ukraine becoming part of NATO? They've completely dropped from the argument that NATO was not supposed to expand eastward. And if you saw my thumbnail that I had up before I switched it to my thumbnail, my regular one, it was a map of the NATO countries. You can Google that. Google the map of NATO from 1945 to 2025. It's phenomenal how it moved eastward. And I'm a little frustrated that we're not hearing about it and that we have completely changed the narrative to where it's not even talked about. Okay, so that's reality now, right? Now I feel like I'm in 1984 and words have just lost their meaning. All they got to do is just change what they're talking about and it loses its meaning. But goodness gracious. We expanded NATO. Now we have Zelensky saying that he'll resign. He'll resign if Ukraine can become part of NATO. We don't even need NATO, you guys. When I was listening to Macron talk about Europe taking more responsibility for security, I have to say, I know that's coming from Trump because he's sick and tired of America footing the bill for all of Europe's security. Since 1945. We're sick of it. He is especially tired of it, and he knows that it's going to break America. And we broke the Soviet Union, folks. That's how we ended the Cold War. And now they're trying to break us. They are trying to break us, as in financially break us. So I hope for my friends out there who are unfamiliar with this topic that helps shed a little bit of light on why this war actually started, why Putin invaded. And then other thing we don't hear about in the news anymore is that Crimea was a Russian playground. Everyone speaks Russian there. It is part of Russia. Everyone always says, I'm not a Russian apologist. I'm not a Putin apologist. I'm not pro-Putin. You know what I am, folks? I'm pro-America, and I'm let's stay within our board. Let's take care of America. Let's stop all of this policing of the world. The world does not. What have we done to help the world? Really, give me a list of some of the things America has done besides charity. We do happen to be, or were, the most charitable nation in the entire world. And that is completely, in my opinion, due to our Judeo-Christian roots. We believe in helping the poor. We believe in helping the downtrodden. But other than that, what have we done to build up the world? It's not coming to mind. I'd have to research it. Anthony Mark, all we are saying is give peace a chance. This war has been going on for 3 years. Yeah, and it's all about NATO expansion. So I guess the point I was getting to of the 3 years, and now Donald Trump has come in and said, you know what, that's it. Let's take the minerals, at least get our money's back, our money's worth. But they're still talking about NATO expansion. Why? I think it's time we pulled out of NATO, I guess, is my bottom line. I think it's time America said, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, you guys take care of yourselves. Europe, have fun. We're pulling out. We're going to spend our money here. We're going to protect Americans. This whole North American Union thing, it's very possible that's going to happen, North and South America. If you believe in the 10 Nation Confederation of the prophet Daniel, it's definitely going to happen in perhaps that kind of manner. I don't know about that. I'm not talking about that tonight by any means. But America first. America first. I'm so tired of America being the bank and the policeman. And now with Biden letting the door wide open, leaving the door wide open. I took an Uber last night, y'all. I took an Uber last night for my car's getting fixed. Thank you, Lord. And the lady said, "Are you a Trump supporter?" Not to get political. And I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, 100%. And she was an immigrant from Haiti. But she's been in the United States for a very long time. No idea if she's legal, probably is. And she said, "Yes, but he's sending the non-criminals. He's deporting non-criminals. It's not just the criminals." And I said, no, dear. No. That's propaganda. CBS News said it. No, that's propaganda. He's sending home anyone that's not supposed to be here. If they didn't come through the front door and they happen to be next to the criminal, regardless, if they didn't come through the front door, they go home. They have to go home. And I asked her, I said, "How would you feel if someone came to your house through the back door and was not invited? Would you be okay with that? And then wanted to eat your food, and then wanted you to take them to the doctor, and then wanted you to pay for their education and their children? Would you be okay with that for real?" They're sending home the people who aren't supposed to be here. Well, he doesn't like immigrants. His wife is an immigrant. I know, but they're not criminals. I said, "Yes, they are." So we got into that argument, and she was listening a little bit. She might be on, I don't think she's listening tonight, but she did sign up for the channel. So we'll see. Oh, goodness. And Anthony Mark, I meant to tell you and all of my Catholic friends out there that I'm real sorry that your Pope's health has been so damaged lately, that he's struggling. Apparently today was a good day, or last night. He had a good evening and he was breathing better and looks like he's out of the woods. So congratulations. Y'all know I'm not Catholic, but I love my Catholic friends, and you guys have done more to help the poor than any other denomination, in my opinion. And that's wonderful. That is really wonderful. All right. So what else did I put in there? Joy Reid. MSNBC. Okay. So what is this Astroturf of these? How do these? Are you guys freaked out as bad as I am of how they can continue to complain, which puts them on the side of waste, fraud, and abuse? Waste, fraud, and abuse. How can you be for waste, fraud, and abuse? And yet they are. What was it today? There was an article, or someone was talking about there were a bunch of, I think it was yesterday or day before, there were a bunch of grassroots protesters out in front of either Doge or one of the buildings that's getting shut down, or one of the an affectee of Doge, layoffs, etc., whatever. And this grassroots organized people came together to protest. And everyone was talking about, see, these people are sick of this Doge stuff. We don't want this Doge stuff. This is not right. And what happened? They turned out to be George Soros paid protesters. Astroturf. And, I'll never forget Nancy Pelosi calling the Tea Party Astroturf. And nothing could have been further from the truth. The Tea Party was not Astroturf. It was the opposite of Astroturf. And what you see today, the MAGA movement, is an outgrowth of the Tea Party, of Taxed Enough Already. It is an outgrowth of that. And it's even better, so much better than the Tea Party. There's so much to be excited about. Are y'all still pinching yourself? Is this really happening? Are they really using common sense to put this stuff, to right this ship of state? And how about Marco Rubio? Man, oh man, do you remember when he drank the water and everyone gave him a hard time when he was giving the Republican response to he was giving the Republican response to Obama's State of the Union address, and he was given such a hard time. They roasted him so bad, the media did. Boy, has that young man grown into quite the sophisticated diplomat that we need at the Secretary of State. Anthony Mark in the chat just said, we live in such optimistic times. You are so right, my friend. You are so right. As soon as I get some broadband, we're going to do that. We're going to do that interview. We do live in such optimistic times. Yeah, I was so pleasantly surprised of Marco Rubio's growth into who he is today. I really don't know how to put it into words, except that I'm extremely grateful. And I think I mentioned this on a show not too long ago, how he seems to have, when he ran for president against Donald Trump in 2016 or 2015, I guess it would have been, and Trump kind of made fun of him like he did everybody. You know, he talked like Trump. I think Marco recognized who Trump is, probably had some good talks with him behind the scenes, and went up under his wing. No offense to you, Mr. Rubio. I don't mean that you were a child and he had to raise you. I don't mean it like that at all. I mean, I think you recognized greatness, and I think you recognized who a great mentor would be. And you seem to have studied underneath him and came out the wiser. I'm very impressed with your abilities at Secretary of State. Y'all, let me pull up something here. I've got the Epic Times here. Here's a neat article. The Trump administration unveils new, stricter performance appraisal system for top career officials. I think that's fascinating, but it doesn't have the story. Where's the story? So this is supposed to be, I have Epic Times, you guys. I subscribe to it. So I'm supposed to have the story. And bear with me in the chat, says, yep, he has been very impressive, but the water thing was funny. Marco would probably agree. I think you're right about that. Bear with me. I think, I've got to sign in, you guys. I think you're right. I think Marco would agree that that was pretty silly. But you know, I'm not going to do this right now. That's silly. Think about I can't stop thinking about the Avengers and how we have Thor. Let's name who's who. So Kash Patel would probably be, he's almost Iron Man, isn't he? Except Iron Man's just a little too rebellious. Kash Patel's a little bit rebellious, even though, you know, he's government gangsters. Yeah. So I just keep thinking about the movie The Avengers. Kash Patel could be Iron Man. Pam Bondi's Black Widow, but she's better just because she's a girl. Who is JFK? RFKJ. Who would Bobby Kennedy be? Let's see. Who would Bobby Kennedy be? Oh, you guys help me out in the chat there. Name these Avengers for me. This would be fun. So Bobby Kennedy could be, well, if you consolidate DC and Marvel comics. Maybe I'm being silly. And this is too serious of stuff to put in that. But I feel like that. I feel like we have superheroes in charge. I really do. I feel like Pam, Kash, Christy. No, not me. Although I didn't like the dog thing, and I'll always feel that way. I feel like it should have been rehomed. Anyway, my goodness gracious, the guy at finance, the head of the treasury, is Eric. I forgot his name. Understands the Fed, understands what's going on with that. And did y'all hear what I was saying last week about Fort Knox? Somebody, it wasn't me, I didn't come up with it, but somebody was saying that we've got to have Geraldo, come on back. Come on off the sailboat and off out of your little liberal world there. Come on back and go with Elon to open up Fort Knox and see if there's any gold in there. Because you know what? There's not. We've known that for a long, long time. We have known there's no gold there. And it's just another thing we got ripped off from. That's what Trump said. And he's right. He's 100% right. And you know what? He doesn't seem the least bit worried, does he? Not at all. And neither am I. We have not had a gold-backed dollar since the petrodollar. And if y'all ever want to do a video on the petrodollar, we can talk about that for hours and hours, because, maybe we should start looking into that. I think finance is changing with AI and cryptocurrency. I think that's another reason Trump is so optimistic. We were talking, 2 weeks ago, Anthony Mark, about the changing, how did we put it? We were going back and forth about cryptocurrency, and I lost my train of thought there. Shoot a monkey, but not a real one. Let's go to Fort Knox and check it out, man. I know Elon, didn't he invite everyone? How about that chainsaw? Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago, talking about cryptocurrency and that things have changed. I think we're going to move from a petrodollar. We're moving away from that. We know that the BRICS nations are starting. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, the BRICS nations, that's Brazil, Russia, India, and China. If I got it right, that's the 4 nations that are called the BRICS nations, and they've been trading in each other's currency, and especially the Chinese yuan. And the reason that's important for all you who are unfamiliar is that because the petrodollar was established, I think, in 1972 or 3 by Richard M. Nixon. And the whole point was he convinced the oil-producing nations, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, the whole Middle East, all the oil-producing nations, we made a deal with them that if we came off the gold standard, gold backing our dollar, a piece of $1 worth of gold for every dollar printed. If we came off of that standard and started selling everything in petrodollars so that oil backed the dollar, and everyone who bought and sold oil around the world had to use the American dollar, that's called the petrodollar, that if we did that, Nixon promised we would never inflate the dollar. Oops. Oopsie daisy, what happened? We've inflated the crap out of it. When Jimmy Carter became president, he started giveaways. He started really kicking in Johnson's war on poverty. And the giveaways went nuts, starting with the teachers union. That's when the DEA was, the Department of Education, Department of Education was established under Jimmy Carter because he had the teachers' vote. I know that's a fact because my mother was a teacher and she had her little gold peanut pin for the peanut farmer. Jimmy Carter was a peanut farmer, and all the teachers backed Jimmy Carter because he was a born-again Christian, and he was going to take care of labor unions and teachers unions, and he was going to take care of this country, and he was a Christian, and he was never going to have all those conspiracy theory people in his government, and he immediately brought in, y'all see that mosquito hawk behind me? That's a mosquito hawk. They're like this big. They kill mosquitoes. They're down here in Texas. Huge. And right away, he brings in Trilateral Commission, Council on Foreign Relations members. I should pull up all those members' names. They don't mean anything to us today. We didn't know who they were then, and we really don't know who they are now, but those are the people behind the scenes. Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Committee of 300. Who are the rest of them? What was the one from Rome? What was the Roman one? Anthony Mark, you might know this. Council on Rome? No. Committee of 300 talks to those guys. Anyway, they're just policy setters, Bilderberg Group. They're policy makers. They're think tanks. They are people who get together to shift world events and world propaganda and what's going on with just us little people. They are the movers and shakers, and they're real. They're absolutely real. And Jimmy Carter was completely devoted to them. And as a result, he made decisions, policy decisions that the government carried out that began to inflate the dollar. And as the dollar inflated, we broke our promise to the petro countries. During Obama's years, the BRICS nation started trading in their own currency, buying and selling oil in their own currency. Libya began to back their oil with their own gold, and all of a sudden they get attacked. Isn't that something? We'll not get into all that because I know I'll get shut down on YouTube for doing that. But the point is, I think now that our Mr. Trump, our President Trump, our president, don't you want to say dear leader? But you know better. You're just so endeared. He's just so endearing to us. Our president understands all of this very, very well. And so do the people around him. And I really believe that we are going to move from this petrodollar, gold backed everything into an AI cryptocurrency type situation. He's flat out come out against central bank digital currency, CBDC, that I'm sure some of you have been hearing about. A lot of people were worried. By the way, am I still on? I think I am. I think it looks pretty good. The cryptocurrency, the CBDC, central bank digital currency, a lot of people are afraid of that. Way too much power concentrated in too few hands. We've already got enough trouble with that, don't we? And Trump came out against that, but he's definitely dropping hints here and there that this is all about to change. And buckle up. And I trust God. Again, I completely trust God. I think we're going to be fine. I didn't know what was going on during Obama. I didn't know what was going on from Biden. I didn't know what God's plans were. I was getting very, very depressed like the rest of us and feeling pretty hopeless, wondering what are you up to? What's next? But the peace and prosperity promised us in the Bible right before the rapture. I won't get into all that tonight, but that peace and prosperity, I believe, is coming. And if it doesn't, and I'm wrong, that's fine. I misinterpreted it. But right now, that's how I see it. I'm still working on that video about all that. Oh, I keep writing another paragraph and it takes me in a whole nother direction. Y'all notice my mind does that? I see someone tuned in and tuned right back out. How funny. So it looks like I'm still on. All right. So we covered the stuff that I had in the thumbnail. Now, the next question is, what do y'all want to talk about? Anthony, Mark, what do you want to talk about? Let me know in the chat, and we will discuss it. In the meantime, CBDC is the big step to a one world government. Yeah, right? Too much power in too few hands. And the one world government. You want to talk about the one world government? Oh, I can talk about that for a long time. The one world government. How do you feel about that, guys? How do y'all feel about a one world government and a one world religious system and a one world economic system? It is definitely prophesied in the book of Revelation, and it comes directly from Revelation 13 for the mark of the beast. That's Andrew Garcia. Oh, Joe. What's up? I thought that was Anthony Mark saying that. You are so correct, Joe. You're so correct. Andrew. CBDC, very big step towards the one world government. Absolutely. So true. Y'all want to talk about that tonight? Y'all tell me in the chat. You want to talk about the one world government and Revelation and all that? I think we covered pretty much everything I said I was going to talk about. What time is it? We're at 7:05. We got a few minutes. So, all right. So we got Revelation 13, the mark of the beast. And I do have this. I can pull this up. Let's see. I won't be able to see the chat though. And it'll probably make me go all wonky. Yep, it is. It's making me go wonky. Let's turn that off. Yeah. Joe! Troy's saying hi, Joe. Or bear with me saying hi. Sorry about that. So NATO expansion that we started this whole deal with, how do y'all feel about it? Do you think it's a good thing that NATO's expanding? Do you think the United States should pull out of NATO completely? I do. I really believe that. I believe our time is done. I don't think we need to I think we need to continue to exert the influence that we have, and we need to be a good partner in the world, for a trading partner. And I think if a bully stands up, and it's for sure a bully, not some fabricated reason to go to war, but a real bully, someone like an antichrist in waiting kind of bully. You know, there's something that we can talk about for a second. The Antichrist. All right. So everybody likes to try and guess who's the Antichrist going to be. And I'm of the belief system that we're not going to know. We are not going to know. We are going to be out of here when he shows up. And, you know, the deal about Pope Francis right now being ill, a lot of people thought he was going to be the last Pope. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Pope prophecy from Malachi Martin. Not Father Malachi that was on Coast to Coast AM all the time, but Father Malachi Morguer Martin. Is it Martin or Morguer? I forget what his last name was. Malachi. Father Malachi Morguer. It was not Martin. Anyway, Father Malachi had a vision about all the popes for the next. There were 200 that he had a vision about, and we know that they started writing them down around 1600 something, and he was from the 1100s. He was on a pilgrimage to Rome. He was an Irish bishop, and he went on his pilgrimage to Rome, and on the way back, God struck him with a vision about all of the popes that would be in power for the next 200 popes. And he didn't write them down, but then later they started writing them down. And so as a result of them writing them down, it does seem like God was perhaps giving him a vision of who the popes would be. He wrote down just a few lines to describe something about that pope, and it tended to match the next popes in line. And he went up to Peter the Roman, was the last one. Are you guys familiar with this prophecy? So Peter the Roman was the last pope, and the prophecy about him was that he would rule during a time of great upheaval and apostasy and turmoil, and he would be the last pope, and then Jesus would return. Or I'm not sure how it ended, but the way evangelicals interpreted, Jesus would come. So it'd be like during the tribulation or at the end of the tribulation. And a lot of people would like to say that Pope Francis was the false prophet and the Catholic Church is all this stuff. I don't go down that road. I know too many good Catholics that love Jesus with all their heart. And so I'm not going to disparage Catholics. The actual church itself, I've studied it a little bit, and I choose not to be a Catholic. But I believe that evangelicalism, how do you say that? Evangelical Christians, that particular flavor of faith has its problems too, and especially nowadays. The New Apostolic Reformation is really giving us a bad name, real bad name. Whole nother topic for another day. But so now my point is that since Pope Francis is suffering right now and is sick, and we're all praying for his health, he's certainly not the false prophet, is he? No, of course not. Of course not. And y'all can just set all that aside. So it's the same thing with the Antichrist. There's absolutely no point in trying to figure out who the Antichrist is going to be. There's no point. But I mentioned all that because I believe that Satan does have someone in mind. I believe that Satan knows about the 70th week, Daniel's 70th week, the 7-year tribulation. Satan knows who it is. And he's always had an Antichrist in the ready, so that when God says it's time, he has his man or his thing or whatever that beast is, it's ready to go. And we know that Hitler and possibly Napoleon, Nero of ancient times, there's been lots of men who were utterly evil and very powerful. And they all seem to be a portrayal of what the Antichrist will be. So the whole point of what I'm saying is that Pope Francis is definitely not the Antichrist, nor is he the false prophet. And I'm glad about that, because he did have quite a few signs that led him up to possibly be Peter the Roman. We all want to see all those lists and files. The list. Oh, Anthony Mark, the list. Do we really? I don't even know. I guess, of course, we want to see the list. We want to know what the heck's going on. What are we going to do when they bring all that out? Pam Bondi said straight up, it's on my desk. I'm looking at it. It's on my desk, and it's a directive from President Trump. And what list am I talking about? For those of you who don't know, we're talking about the Epstein files. We're talking about, the Epstein list. We're talking about the files on JFK and RFK and Martin Luther King. And oh my goodness gracious. I just don't know, y'all. When it came out during Obama's reign, or administration, I should say, during Obama's administration, when it came out, when the Podesta emails came out, y'all remember that? So John Podesta was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager and is very connected to the left, and so is his brother. And WikiLeaks, is it WikiLeaks? And I'm going to read a chat here. Hold on, y'all. I feel like I don't know how I will react if the webs list come out. I don't think I know how to either, Anthony Mark. We're going to see people on there that we had respect for. But there was such a blackmail aspect to it. Epstein Island and all that sort of thing. We know that was a blackmail operation. We know it's so obvious. It's such common sense that they got people down there to get them. They would probably drug a lot of them. I bet you a million of them would not have done some of those things on their own, but just as many may have. I don't know. But that they could you can drug someone and then take compromising pictures, and they don't know what's going on because they're out of it. They've been drugged. We know that happens. So when those lists come out, are we going to be able to trust that these were not just blackmailed people who actually aren't bad guys or gals even? How are we going to know? We're not going to know. That's the point. We're going to have to trust the Holy Spirit and trust our gut, I think. And I guess I'm just kind of one of those people that wants to give a person the benefit of the doubt. We all make mistakes. We all do things stupid and wrong. I was talking to a friend about that today, that we make mistakes, but then God takes those mistakes and turns them into lessons for us to help us to be better people. And would we have turned out to be who we are if we hadn't made those mistakes? This Epstein list and the JFK files make no sense. We know who was involved. We know, maybe not for an absolute fact, but we know the CIA was involved. We know the mob was involved. We know very possibly Dr. Mary's monkey and all that stuff may have had something to do with it. I don't know if y'all know what I'm talking about with that, but it's a fascinating book about Lee Harvey Oswald and what was going on at Tulane University in 1960 to 64, the late 50s to the early 60s. They were working very hard to come up with a weaponized cancer virus. Have you heard of that? Some say it's just a conspiracy theory. Well, now we're coming out with a vaccine for viruses, aren't we? For cancer. Now we have a cancer vaccine in the works. Well, if it's not a virus, how would a vaccine work? Huh? I think we're going to find out that stuff is true. I think we're going to find that almost all of the conspiracy theories had quite a bit of truth to them. And I think we're at a point in this nation where most of us are able to accept that things just aren't what we thought they were. They just aren't. And let me get another chat in here, you guys. We got Joe saying same thing with the Playboy Mansion being used for blackmail. I bet it was. I'm not familiar with that story, Andrew, but I bet it was. I bet it was used the same way. Maybe the P. Diddy parties were the same thing. Now, those seem to have been more of a participatory thing. I don't know. I don't know. It's probably no different. It's probably the same deal, where as soon as you start to get a little bit of power, or people really start to lift you up, they got to make sure they can control you, because they have to stay in control. So my point is, a minute ago, I do believe that we are sophisticated enough nowadays that we're at a different level than we were in the 50s. We don't take for granted everything we hear over the airwaves. We don't trust everyone. Our innocence has been stolen to some extent. Maybe that was 9/11 that did that. The first attack on our soil since 1812, right? Other than the Civil War. Maybe it was 9/11 stealing our innocence But the point is, we just don't fall for it like we used to. And if we do find out that almost all of those conspiracy theories were true, no matter how horrible or how shocking they may turn out to be, I think we can handle it. I think as Americans, we're grown up. We're going into our 250th year in 2026. Oh my gosh. Oh, by the way, in honor of that, would you guys like to hear just a little bit from the Declaration of Independence? I just love these words. What was it? What's that movie about the Masons with Nicolas Cage? What is that movie? National Treasure. I don't like how they deified the Masons almost, but the words. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. Wait a minute. Hold on. When in the course of human events, wait, that was what I just read. That's the preamble. I'm looking for the real famous one. It's got the grievances. Oh, y'all, I don't, where is it? When in the course of human events, Oh, it must be over here. I must be missing a page. Here it is. Here it is. Got to be right here. Nope. Oh, where is the one we have to throw off such government? Here it is. Ha! That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. What rights? Nature's law and nature's God. The rights given to us we are born with. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. I just love that. I just love that so much. And there's a whole lot more to it. And this is my Charlie Kirk. It explains it all. It's got the grievances listed out, the indictment of the king, and a whole bunch of did you know? Did you know? I love those. It's very interesting. So what else, guys? All right, we're coming up on the hour. Man, I'm so glad you guys are here. Don't have as many here this week as we had last week, but that's okay. It's growing. It's growing. Seems familiar, doesn't it, though? Bear with me. I guess you're commenting on the Declaration of Independence. That was exactly what I thought when I was putting my thoughts together for the show tonight. Earlier, I was unpacking something in my stuff over there because I didn't remember if I brought my pocket Constitution. I'm trying to keep these with me at all times. I'm trying to keep these with me at all times. My Charlie Kirk turning point, Declaration of Independence and Constitution. And I was looking for something, and I found both of them actually. And I pulled out that Declaration of Independence, and I thought, boy, right before Trump, that's how it was beginning to feel, wasn't it? And here we are with a peaceful revolution, a peaceful change of government. This is the biggest change. I guess, they used to talk about the New Deal a whole lot, and President Roosevelt And what a change that was. And it was, because Wilson started it and Roosevelt really took it, which led us to cultural, well, it was socialism, you guys, straight up socialism. And that was a complete change from how this country was founded. Uh, and I think we were still a little gun shy from the Civil War at the turn of the century to allow Wilson to get away with what he got away with. And then with the war weariness and the depression and all of that stuff, we weren't really paying close enough attention. A lot of people were. A lot of people said the Social Security system was a bad idea. I'm grateful for it today. I use it, but paid into it my whole life, so I should be able to pull it. But we've seen a whole change in our government to a cultural Marxism and a socialistic style of governing that has gotten us almost to the brink of destruction. And we all know that. But the good news is all the nominees, right? Are we at all of them? Are we at 100% now, you guys? Are we at 100%? I think so. Maybe there's a couple more to be confirmed. Secretary of Labor, did she get confirmed? I'm not sure about that. But Trump's nominees are in place. Trump is going full force, 100 miles an hour into the wind with his head bowed down and his sails pushing. Oh, we're going to make it, guys. We're going to make it. This is going to be the golden age of America. And can you imagine what that celebration is going to be like next year? Oh, where do you want to be? Mount Rushmore? New York? Where do you want to be? I don't know. Pennsylvania? Oh, I think we'll be right here in Houston, probably Arkansas. But anyway. Well, guys, I sure enjoyed y'all being here tonight. Was there anything I didn't cover that you'd like to talk about? I'm going to give it just a minute. If the chat doesn't pop up real quick. I'm so glad y'all were here. Thank you to my subscribers. If you like what you heard, please smash the like button. 4 nominees to go. Thanks, Anthony Mark. We've got 4 nominees. Is one of them labor? We've been waiting for this our entire lives, Bear With Me says. You're so right, because it has really been going downhill since about 1900 or 1906, thereabouts. It really has. We have gotten off track, and here we are. This is just miraculous to watch it happen, isn't it? It's just miraculous. Be sure and catch Labor, UN Ambassador, Education, and Trade Representative. Interesting. So the education lady hasn't been nominated yet. That's right. They're holding out against her, aren't they? Because she's supposed to put herself out of a job, and they're all upset about it. The UN ambassador, I don't remember. Is that the New York Congresswoman? I think. And the Secretary of Labor is sharp as a tack. Don't remember her. And the trade representative, I think, is a fella, a dude. I'm not sure. Have to look all that up. 4 to go. 4 to go, you guys. But the hardest ones have gone through. And these guys are important, especially UN ambassador. Well, all those are very important. And I think he's got people waiting in the wings if we can't get them confirmed. So I'm not worried about that. I was worried about Cash. And I was worried about Tulsi, and I was worried about RFKJ. And here we are. We made it. Wow. Yeah, if you've never been vaccinated for measles, be sure and get vaccinated. Apparently, it's on the rise. Measles. Education and trade. Yeah, good point. Bear with me. Good point. Very, very important stuff. And labor. I mean, the labor unions. I thank the unions for my weekends. I thank the unions for getting children out of the factories. And I thank the unions for helping us get better pay. After that, we're done. I don't think unions do any good anymore. And I saw my mom's teacher union and how it kind of ran her, and I'm not a fan. Anyway, thank you, my subscribers. If you like what you heard, please smash that like button. Please share. Share it on X, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you share your platforms. And like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, smash that subscribe, click the notifications bell, and I will see you guys next week. Hopefully I'll have that religious one done here pretty soon, and I'll get it uploaded. I don't think it'll be a live broadcast. I'm hoping to tape it and upload it. I don't think it would do too well live. But anyway, for those of you who have notifications turned on and I did all those videos, I did figure it out. I really did figure it out. I just got to figure out a way to get more bandwidth. And one of my friends in the chat's going to help me with that. Thank you for that. All right, guys, have a great night. God bless you all. Let's say a prayer real quick. Father God, I just continue to lift up this nation. We all continue to lift up this nation. We are so grateful that you gave us your word, that you did make us that shining light on the hill, so that, as Jesus said, don't put a lamp up on a stand and then cover it. You let it shine out so the whole room will be lit. Put the light up high, and you put us up high, Lord Jesus. And we thank you so much for that. Please continue to show us when we're wrong so that we can confess our sins, and that you will be forever faithful to forgive them. Help us turn from our wicked ways. Help us turn away from sin and towards you, and let your light shine through us by your grace, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, everybody, have a wonderful night, and I will see you next week. Thanks for being here. In stream. I don't want to go, but I guess I will. Bye-bye.